Good morning,
Hello.
everybody.
Good morning. Everyone is doing well today. We started off
Yeah,
our day very dark and rainy and thunderstorms, and it's been great.
it's amazing. It's been so hot and so dry, and the garden needs a good rain, and we're getting it this morning. And I got to put a sweater on because it's so chilly.
Oh, that's so
Very
exciting.
exciting. It was. I was like, "Ooh, I'm cold." So yeah, I feel like fall is a little bit on the way, but it's still in
Mhm.
that kind of transitiony area where we want to maybe add a layer, but not necessarily add a sweater. Like this is probably the only sweater I'm going to wear for the next month or so. Um, but today, with that in mind, we were kind of thinking of like what are like wardrobe basics that you can layer together and make new looks and not have a ton of different items. So that's kind of what we're thinking about today. Do you have any sort of capsule wardrobe that you go with, Erin?
Um, thinking about all these garments that we're going to talk about today, it's kind of that time of year where you're still wearing your short sleeve, but you want to throw on your long sleeve. And I like garments that can be, say, a long sleeved shirt, but it can also, you can leave it open, and it can also be a jacket. And we have a couple instances of that this week. So I think I'm always excited to like reach for that long sleeve shirt because I know I can throw it on over whatever I have, and then if I need to take it off later in the day, then I can. But it's just a lightweight layer, and I like that.
Yeah, and we were excited, and we'll get to it later today, but we have a really nice fabric line that we got in, which we have used previously as like that third layer option. And we've got new colors and a little bit of print, so we'll talk about that later. But let's talk a little bit about kind of what we're thinking for like a basic little capsule wardrobe and just some ideas for how you can mix and match and have something easy to throw on, but it works for both the hot days and the cool days.
Right.
So
Dive
this
in.
was really this was inspired by our So Confident Series 7, which I know probably quite a few of you remember. Um, that was the year we introduced the swing tee and the cottage shirt and the pencil pants, and we did that with this wardrobing idea in mind. So starting off with basics, you can see we've got a red mix-it tank and some West End pants. Just a simple knit swing tee and pencil pants. And like, so a tee and a tank and a couple pairs of pants, that's your base layer. And then we start to add another layer in. So in this version, we're adding in the cottage shirt.
I know I like how this really shows you how you can have a collection of a wide leg pant, a narrow leg pant, and similar tops, with the mix it and the swing tee. They both have a similar easiness to them, which I think is really nice. And you can have them in those favorite colors, the red, the yellow, the blue, or green, or whatever your favorite colors are. And it makes it really easy to put things together.
hmm And again, like they're nice enough that they work on their own, but then when you start needing extra layers, like a solid bright top under a print, as shown with that cottage shirt, really works. Um, so this is more cottage layering looks. On the left here, we have a little bit of a different pant. We have the Picasso pant. So for those of you who like maybe not as wide as the West End, but not as skinny as the pencil, the Picasso is that kind of nice middle ground leg width. I think that's a lengthened mix-it tank. Is that what you're seeing, Erin?
Yes, we
Okay.
have even that red one in the previous slide was a lengthened mix-it tank. So it's a nice, the regular length at the high hip is really nice, but I think when you're putting that additional third layer on it, it's nice to see that tank hang out a little bit.
It kind of gives you like a lengthening look, I
Hmm.
think.
Hmm.
And then on top, again, we have the cottage shirt. Now here in these photos, you're gonna get a preview of our beautiful linen gauze. That natural cottage shirt is out of a linen gauze, as is the teal in the middle. And so that teal is over a kind of tonal colored swing tee that coordinates with it, and then the pencil pants. And then on the right, we've got cottage shirt over a white swing tee and West End pants. And it's interesting, I think, to see just how, like, essentially the same tops, but the different bottoms have very different looks.
And I like that you can wear those even though the leg shapes are so different in each one of those. It's the same silhouette on top. And so
Hmm.
it shows how versatile the cottage really can be.
And of course, these are all shown worn as jackets, but you can also just wear the cottage shirt buttoned up as a shirt. Let's see. Here's another one. This is actually an even more lengthy mix-it top. Wouldn't you say this is what, mid-thigh?
It's yeah, that one's pretty long, and it's in a knit. The other ones were wovens, and so you can make the mix-it tank in, that simple black knit that you can throw on easily. It's shown here with the pencil pants, and then another gauze cottage on top. So again, changing up the silhouettes, but keeping the cottage on top is just a really sophisticated look.
And really, although we're maybe getting out of those hot days, although I know some of our guests live in the South, so they're going to have hot days for longer. But if you lengthen that mix-it tank a little bit longer, it would be a great dress with a little top thrown over it.
Right, exactly. That garment specifically, is the tunic for me, dress for you. Uh, so it's really versatile.
I do think somewhere there is a photo of me wearing it as a dress because it like went down to almost my knees and it was really cute. I've actually been thinking about making one ever since I tried that on. Maybe I'll just steal it from work.
Yeah.
And so then this is another look. This is where you've got your main pieces, but you start to switch it a little bit. So on the left and the middle, those two jacket-like pieces are the cottage shirt. Um, On the left, we have it in a plaid linen gauze crinkle, which we're going to show you later today. But in the middle, it's a heavier fabric that had almost like a furry texture. Isn't that right, Erin?
Yes, it has a wool blend. I'm trying to think of what the precise content is, but it's a winter, weight. So you can wear it as that great jacket, or you could wear it as a dress. I've done that as well. But the great thing is with the cottage being short sleeve, I feel like even though it's a heavier garment, you can wear it for longer in the season because it's short sleeve.
Mm-hmm. And it looks great because it's almost vest-like.
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
it's kind of less jacket, almost vest. But you can see even in lengthening how different it looks. Like the plaid linen, it's almost kind of like a duster, but it looks great over that skinnier pant leg because the proportions really work well there. Whereas in the middle, we have it over a swing tee with sleeves and the Picasso pants. And again, it's all about the proportions. So you have like the little bit of a tighter sleeve on the swing tee, and then that nice kind of funnel lantern leg underneath the kind of oversized jacket look. And then on the far right, we have the swing tee, and you made that into long sleeves with a funnel neck. Is that correct?
Right. And I like how sometimes I think we feel like with the Picassos or the trios or some of those wider leg pants, you can't wear volume on the top. But I think this is a great example that you can. And I think it has to do with that lantern shape, the fact that it comes in down towards the hem. I think it lends itself then to being able to wear more volume or longer garments on the top.
I agree. So, all of these images that we showed you were part of So Confident Series 7, which I think was
28.
2018,
Mhm.
2018. And through that series, it was 4 quarters, so the full year, we talked about layering pieces and adding pieces and of course, because we can't leave anything alone, changing the patterns.
Mhm.
And so, I think we had a couple more patterns within the series itself, but I think those 6 basic patterns, which is swing, mix it, Picasso, West End, and pencil pants, you can go far not many pieces, especially if you're willing to change sleeve lengths and just regular body lengths and different fabrics.
Right, and I do have a few garments I can show you that
Perfect.
shows some of the same things that we saw in the images, but then adding in another pattern to change it up just a little bit.
All right, let's see it.
So I divided this into a few different colors here, so a little color story. And we were talking about um, how you kind of start with that base. You're starting with the pant. And this is the West End pant, so a fuller leg pant in a really flowy, drapey pinstripe, which I think is really nice. So even though you have a wider leg, the flowiness of this, the drape, the heavy drape, makes it really flattering. And then take the West End pants, and then you can add on the Mix It tank. I think I might shorten this just a little bit, or maybe make the actual length from the pattern. I think that's what I would do with this West End Mix It combination. I think that would be a really nice combination. And then another thing we showed within that tutorial was this beautiful lacy number. So I'm you have to correct me, Betsy. Is this a swing or a mix it? Because I think
That
it could
is
go either
a
way.
that's a swing tee with lengthened sleeves, and then it has the asymmetric bottom.
Okay, that's what I thought, but man, it really you'd really have to examine it, I think. But this is a really fun combination with having a tank underneath and then the lacy number on top. So it gets that third piece in, which I think is really great. Or, you get hot during the day, you could take this part off and then keep the tank. Since in September it still can get pretty warm sometimes. So I think this is just a really great combination.
Can I ask you on that lengthened mix-it tank, it's got the shorter front and the longer back. Is that in the original pattern or did we do that on the variation?
That's on the variation. So the Mix-It tank itself is just all one length. It does have the side slit in it, and I'd say the length is more like high hip. So this is
Mhm.
lengthened from the original pattern.
And that was a polyester crepe material, I think. And I love the
Mhm.
drape on it. I think it looks really beautiful.
Right. I think the drape, you're right. It's beautiful. I think it's a great packing fabric. I like crepe because you can have it in like a lot of different colors, and it's just a simple solid, but it gives you just a little bit more texture, which I think
Hmm.
makes it more interesting.
And the crepe kind of, in terms of actual sewing, sometimes drapey fabrics can be tricky to sew, but a crepe, because it has that texture, it kind of clings a little bit better. So
Mhm.
it's a little more stable than, say, like a silkier rayon that's gonna um,
Right.
get out of.
Mhm.
Sorry, it's gonna be tricky to sew.
Right.
Um,
Right. Crepe is really easy to sew. You don't have to worry about it slipping around or anything. Quite a few of the bird blouses that we made were out of crepe, and that was just the perfect fabric for all the details that went into that pattern. So something else you could do if you want to take away the lace. Here are the infamous cottages that we were talking about. So you can add in a black gauze cottage to this mixture. And I think that's a really nice combination as well. And then if you want to add in an even another piece, I love the London. The London is a great simple pattern, long sleeves, very like casual look. It's a little bit oversized, so it's just really comfortable to throw on. Simple collar. Um, it also has a side seam that comes to the front, which I think makes it really flattering. Having that line coming down to the front just gives you that nice, great shape at the side seam. And I think that's a really fun combination as well. You could wear it closed and just wear the two pieces together, or you could wear this open and have the mix it tank showing underneath. And we loved that print so much. We even decided to make it in the white, which of course I love and really makes it pop with that classic black and white combination. I really like that.
And that's going to go with everything.
Right, that's going to go with everything. But say you're not a black and white person, maybe the contrast is just too much. What you could do is throw in a neutral with your black. So this is another cottage in the gauze, and it still looks really great with this black and white pinstripe. But I think if you have this softer neutral on top, then maybe the contrast isn't as high, and maybe you like that look just a little bit more, a little softer, very sophisticated. I like that combination. Or maybe you like high contrast. Maybe you like that just burst of color. And here is a teal, which I also think is just fantastic and sophisticated and gives it a little punch.
It's a beautiful color. And I think, even if you're going bright, if it's solid, it's not like you're wearing a crazy print. You're
Hmm.
you're having a pop, but it's not too much. So,
Right. And
especially if
again,
you're wearing it as a jacket and you can tone it down with that like neutral mix it underneath.
right. And again, back to, having a solid that has texture to it. It just adds a little interest to it. If you really love this color, maybe underneath, you saw it in the pictures, you put a swing tee in the same color. I think that's really nice. It keeps your color story really simple with, a different shade of this teal and then the classic black and white.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about tonal dressing, and that's it right there. Is you're wearing similar colors, and even if they're bright, just the fact that you're really focused on one color makes it a cohesive look. So it's not too much, I think.
And I think it makes it easier to get dressed. If you have those, I have so many of the same color, like in my closet, I have a pretty decent chunk of blue. Of course, black and white kind of takes over. But it makes it easy to get dressed. It makes it easy just to grab that top because you know it's going to go with most of your wardrobe.
Well, and you mentioned, here, I'll put my face. I'll do this. You mentioned packing earlier with the Mix It tank, and like this is a perfect travel wardrobe.
Right, exactly. I like to do that when I travel. I like to have a color base, whether it's I know everything's going to go with black, or I know everything's going to go with navy, or everything's going to go with brown, whatever I'm feeling. And then I can build off of that. It helps when packing shoes. It helps when packing, all of your tops. And maybe you have like a really exciting dress that you love, and it can be something that's out of the box from the rest of the rest of your wardrobe. But I think it makes it really easy to pack and get ready to go.
Yeah. I wish I had thought of that. I'm getting ready to go out of town for 9 days, and I can tell you that it is not a capsule wardrobe that is in my suitcase. It is a everyday wardrobe. So, but it would be so much nicer if I just had a couple pairs of pants and then, just a variety of tops that can interchange.
Mhm.
And they're all in the same color story, so I can change the look every day.
Well, you'll just have, a brand new look every single day,
I know, I will.
which seems to me like how you would pack.
It is. I
I can
think
see
about
that.
it every time, and then I'm like, oh, but I just want all the things. So
Yeah. Oh, but this is so much more fun.
just more fun. I don't. I use packing cubes. It's light. It's fine. I can move my own suitcase.
There you go. Well, I do have another color story that's more in the neutral zone. If we want to
Let's see
show
that.
that, some of
Yeah.
the same garments. Um, this brings in the pencil pants, which is a great slim leg pant. It's a knit pant. It's our slimmest leg pant. And this is a lightweight ponte, and it has this slimmer waistband. It has a narrow elastic inside the casing. It has just a smooth front, darts in the back, and it hits about ankle length. And if you just want a simple top for the day, you can throw it on with a classic white swing tee. I think that's a great look. Wear some amazing jewelry and you're ready to go. But if you wanted to add another piece to it, we can go back to our cottage shirt in the neutral and wear that together. The swing tees hanging out just a little bit with that slim leg. Throw on maybe some gold flats or some flashy sneakers, maybe animal print sneakers, which I'm on the hunt for right now. And I think that would be fantastic. Um, and then another addition that I think would be really nice, I guess if you take away the cottage there, is you add in a London. So this London is more of a jacket. It's more medium weight. So maybe this is a little bit, further down the road in fall. But it looks great with the pencil pants since it's a longer shirt, and the longer swing tee looks really good with it. And this is a fractured, kind of one of our first experiences with a fractured jacket. And it has 2 layers. And the base layer is a canvas print. And then on top, you can see it has patches, and those are out of the gauze. And then the hand stitching on top kind of brings it all together. But I always thought this was a fantastic project. Easy
And
to
we
wear.
we do have a workshop for that.
We
So
do.
if you
We
love it, you can make it.
Exactly. We have a workshop coming up in Santa Fe next year in March, and I believe we have a few spots left, right?
I think so. I think we do. I'd have to check with Alex on that. Um, but just a few spots, I
Hmm.
think.
Right. And
But
we
we
also
also,
have,
oh,
are you going
go
to say the
ahead.
same thing?
Probably. So you
We,
go ahead.
we also have a class. We have a fractured jacket class that will tell you how one of the jackets that they explain how to do in that class is this fractured jacket.
Yeah, it's the Boro inspired London jacket. And it walks you through step by step of making that particular look. So
Right. It includes that jacket and then 2 others. The video is taught by Linda, Samantha, and Kathy. So it's a really great video and comprehensive with 3 different jackets. So this is, I think, a great combination when it's just a little bit cooler, when you want that medium weight jacket. And I think the London's perfect for that. I love a longer jacket. I think they're really easy to throw on when you need something on the cool mornings. And then I love that the fact that you could make this in a shirt as well, in a drapier fabric. So I think this is a really good pattern to own. And look at that. Could do the black and white with the taupe. So a lot of options there.
and the pencil pants are a style that we don't talk about a ton, but we wore them like crazy when it first came out. They're very comfortable, they're an easy sew. They're a
Hmm.
little bit of a thinner leg, but not so much like a legging. So if you're looking for a narrower profile, it's a great look to go for.
Right, and this is a lightweight ponte. We've also made it in a medium weight ponte, but it's definitely you need to stretch for this pattern. You need to knit, but it's really really flattering and just kind of slims the leg.
Perfect.
All right. So the next thing I know we wanted to talk about was lengthening the cottage. If I can find that garment in the stack. So one of the projects that we have included in Series 7, So Confident, is how you lengthen a cottage shirt. So this cottage shirt is also, that other great third piece that you can throw on when we have those chilly mornings. And um, and the cottage, I love that it's something that has short sleeve with the cottage sleeve, but it's made out of this heavier weight fabric in this beautiful charcoal gray. The cottage is it's a boxy shirt, so you can easily lengthen it into a tunic or into this more of a duster.
Yeah, we've pulled the instructions for lengthening the cottage shirt out so you guys can see how simple it is. Again, this is included in So Confident Series 7. So it's as simple as just really adding in the length. Is that the cutting line right there, Erin?
Right, so you're adding, trying to use my eyes as best I can. Um, 13, it looks like 13 and a quarter at the length, at the lengthening shortening lines, in order to make it the duster length. And since it is pretty boxy, you don't have to worry as much when you're truing those lines when you're lengthening it. So it's a pretty easy garment to lengthen.
The other thing we did on that sample, and then also the plaid sample that we showed you earlier, was make it without the collar, just using the stand, which I think is a nice look.
I like how simple that is. It that I like having a little something, at the neck, but it's nice that it just has that simple, delicate stand, especially in
And
that fabric.
yeah, exactly. And one thing that we talked about in this tutorial, and again, especially with that particular fabric, which is a little bit thicker and trickier to work with, is when you do the stands, you might think about doing the buttonhole, the horizontal to the vertical buttonholes, just to make it easier to get it in that smaller area.
Right, and we always like to. I know that it can be really tricky to do a buttonhole near a seam because of the bulk. And so, one thing we talk about is where you start that buttonhole. So, instead of starting a buttonhole near that seam where it's going to be thick and kind of tricky to get going, you start it at the other end and work your way towards the seam. So, on the horizontal buttonhole, you can see that you're going from left to right towards the seam, and it just makes it a little easier to get that buttonhole in.
Yeah. So, I think we're ready to talk about fabric, but let me make sure we don't have any questions here. I did see someone asking about what you are wearing, Erin.
Okay. So I am wearing the ET today. I wanted to wear just since we were talking about kind of simple dressing and layers. I wanted to throw on my favorite T-shirt is the ET. It gives me a little bit more room in through the shoulders from my broad shoulders than the swing tee does. In contrast, the swing tee does have narrower shoulders, so I do typically go with the ET. And this is just straight out of the package ET with the nice shaping at the side seam, and then the rounded kind of shirt tail hem. And then I am wearing Weston pants on the bottom in a red linen.
Very nice. Um, on the Mix-It tank, was the neckline altered to appear more scooped? And if yes, can you tell us how many inches it was altered?
Um, that is a great question. I do think it was because I can see. Let me go grab an original. And this also shows you the contrast between, a woven from the package, mix it tank. These are actually both the same size, both mediums. So you can see the length on this mix it versus the length on this more tunic length here. So that shows you how much you would have to lengthen it, which is in the tutorial. And I think actually it may look a little bit more scooped, but I don't, if it is, it's not scooped out by much. But it just seems a little bit more rounded, but
That could be the drape as
that
well.
could be the drape, that could just be the
Mm-hmm.
fabric, because I
Because it
don't
does,
really see a lot of difference.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty similar. So I would assume that is just the way the fabric hangs, is
Hmm.
taking it down a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
because this is pretty stiff compared to the drape of
Hmm.
the crepe.
Yeah.
You have any other questions?
Well, we have one that says, how much extra fabric do you buy for the shrinkage? I'm guessing she's referring to our fabric on the wall there.
Well, while we haven't washed it, we do recommend if you are going to wash it that you test it and see. If you want to get an extra half a yard, just to be safe if you're planning on washing it, because it probably is going to wrinkle up more in the wash a little bit. Um, but for me, I don't know if it's a fabric that I would wash. The great thing about it is it's linen, but it does have a touch of polyester, which is really nice because then the crinkle stays in the fabric, so you don't have to worry about that like coming out.
Okay, well, let's talk about the fabrics.
Okay. Well, these are fantastic. I remember when we first got them in when we were doing the 2018 So Confident, and I love the texture, the colors, just the overall sophistication of this gauze. And so when we got a new round in, I was really excited, and a few new colors too, which is great. We can start with this really soft pink here. This is strawberry Bellini. Oh, that just sounds like vacation. And I just think this is a beautiful pink for a lot of different skin tones. It's just has enough saturation, and I just think it's beautiful. And I think if you paired it with the right colors, I think it can transition into fall, especially if you're mixing some of your neutrals and your taupes. I think that could look really rich for fall, or even I could definitely see it with some like rich cranberry reds and merlots, and I think that would be beautiful. Um, and then this beautiful green, this is mistletoe. So we're feeling a little holiday, a little Christmassy. And this is a beautiful soft green. Again, I would pair it with some neutrals, but it would also look, I think, really sophisticated to pair it with black, or even navy would look really nice if you're pairing it with a blue. I think that would be great.
And I'm just gonna pop in here and say that the strawberry Bellini pink and the mistletoe green, those are both actually 100% linen, and then the rest of them have that touch of poly in them. So
Okay.
if there's anyone who very much does not want polyester in their fabric, look to those two colors because those are 100% linen.
And another thing to note about this fabric that I think is pretty consistent is they are 50 wide. So think about that when you're ordering and looking to your 45-inch layouts to see what kind of yardage you need. So here is a great teal Miami Vice. Oh, I love that. This is a great color. It's a teal with a touch of, it seems like a touch of yellow, like the way the cross dye works together. I think it's just stunning. I like that. Um, and let's see. Yeah, this one does have the 5% poly. But I think that that's a really great color. And then, of course, classic black there on the bottom. I used to have a pair of Weston pants in the gauze that I made when we got it in the first time, and I wore those all the time. So much so that I cannot wear them any longer. But it was just the perfect weight. It had a beautiful drape. They were just great pants that I could throw on all year round.
Now let me ask you this. They're a little bit sheer in that I can see behind them on the wall, but
Mhm.
you found that was okay for pants?
Yeah, I didn't line them. They were slightly sheer, but I think in the dark color, I think it worked, in
Okay.
the black. And so I think maybe you could get by with like this darker blue, but you could put a lining. I think we sometimes do we have those knit mesh linings
I
still?
think we have a couple of those mesh fabrics left. Yeah.
I love using, we have a knit mesh, and I think it makes great lining because it's really easy to work with. You could just serge up the side seams and the inseams. You can leave the hem raw. It's a really quick way to add a lining to your pants, especially a really simple pant like, say, the Westons. And I think, and it's lightweight, so it's something you could still wear in the summer. And I think that would be a nice option if you want to line your pants.
Okay.
So up here is the plaid, similar to what we showed in that tunic length cottage shirt. I wish I could find that cottage shirt, but I cannot because it's really beautiful. But this is it's a really great standout linen gauze. I love the larger plaid. I love the blue, and it was just perfect for that tunic. And then this is more of a navy, call it top sail, kind of a muted navy. So it's a little bit lighter. And then it pairs really well with this blue, hot tropic.
Oh
I
no, I
like
changed
that.
the name because
Oh,
it
you did?
doesn't look like Hot Tropic.
Okay.
It is now called Sail Away Blue.
Oh, okay.
I didn't,
I can see the
yeah.
change there. Hmm.
I
I
was
like
like,
that.
it doesn't seem tropical.
Yeah, this one may be a
Yeah.
little hot tropic. Yeah, I like that. A little softer name.
Hmm.
But that's a beautiful blue. I like that a lot. And then the one on the bottom has more of a stripe. It is more of a stripe. Can you see that? I might.
You might bring it closer.
Yeah.
It's almost a railroad stripe. It is white with a very light gray. If you're looking, it's kind of like a gray blue, but pretty subtle. If you're looking for a neutral cottage or London, this would be really beautiful.
Yeah, I think this would be fantastic. I think it goes well. The beauty of it is I think it would go well with black. It would go well with your blues. It would go well with the green, the pink.
Hmm.
You could pair it with a lot of different colors and neutrals, and I think it would be beautiful.
Yeah.
So those are the 8 colors that we have in the linen gauze. And make it in a cottage like we've been talking about. It would be great in the London. It would be great in a pair of Weston pants. Even the mix it tank. So I think you can do a lot with the linen gauze, even though we've kind of mainly shown it for our cottage shirt. I think it can go across a lot of the patterns that we've shown.
Hmm. We had a question about the teal. Is it the same teal as the shirt we showed earlier? It is not, but you might hold it up against it. You can see that it's a little bit greener. It's got, as she said, there's a bit of a cross um, dye to it. So on one section it's green and then or it's teal and then it mixes with a yellow. So it's got a greener cast to it.
It's lighter, more green, so you can see
Hmm.
the difference there.
But you'd get the same look,
Mhm.
essentially.
Oh, definitely. It would still give you that pop like this
Hmm.
one.
So would use any special tools to sew this fabric, or do you think it's pretty easy peasy?
I believe in our tutorial we talk a little bit about the different ways and how to work with the linen gauze. I think one of the key things, especially with all the hemming with the cottage, is I would use Fusee web like we do with a lot of
Mhm.
our projects. I think Fusee web would really come in handy to stabilize the linen gauze, as I think it could move a little bit on you. um, and we would use cotton thread. We've been using microtex needles a lot lately, or universal, but we've kind of switched over to using microtex quite often on our projects. So I think I would do that as well.
And I
Um, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think when you get down to buttonholes and things, you want to do some samples beforehand just to make sure that your machine is happy with the fabric and you're happy with the way the machine makes the buttonholes. I would probably throw a little tissue paper underneath just to help glide it through.
Right. I think that's to me kind of a given with all buttonholes. Always test it with a piece of tissue paper because you might find if you compare it that the buttonhole is going to be a lot more flat and stable if you use the tissue paper.
Let's see. I don't see any other questions. So yeah, let's just talk about what's on sale. So all the patterns that we've shown today are on sale. That is hold on, I have to look at my page. The Cottage Shirt, the Mix It, the Pencil Pants, the Swing Tee, West End, Picasso's, and London. Of course, all the fabric are also on sale, 15% off. And then we've also put So Confident Series 7 on sale. And you've got some options. You can buy the full year package, which is 4 quite big tutorials. There is an option that's the tutorials and the patterns. So if you are new to us and you don't have any of these patterns, that's a good way to get them all. And then we also have them broken up into quarters. So there's first quarter, second, third, and fourth. And there's a lot divided within those quarters, so I'm not going to go over what's in every tutorial or we'd be here all day long. But there are some really good descriptions on what is included in the different tutorials. So definitely check those out. Now's a good time to start thinking of just like some new pieces to add for a new season. So if you're looking for a couple basics and then a couple,
Mhm.
layered statement pieces, this is a good way to go.
Right, and it shows you, some of those images that we shared today, plus many more on different garments to wear, and we built on it throughout the entire year, added on patterns, so you really can get an idea of how much you can mix and match different patterns together to get more wear out of each piece.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's our capsule wardrobe for the
Mhm.
day.
With our linen gauze.
With our linen gauze. Alex and Linda will be back with us next week. They are currently in Niagara-on-the-Lake in Canada, having a wonderful Hong Kong vest workshop. So they're out having a good time with some ladies sewing some Hong Kong vests.
I know that trip sounds fantastic, so I'm sure
Mhm.
enjoying themselves, but yes, they will be back next week.
And we look forward to hearing about their adventures in Canada. In the
Oh,
meantime, everybody have a wonderful week and get sewing, and we look forward to seeing what you're making.
all right. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.